Mr. President.
Senator from Arkansas.
No, I had not planned to speak about the Democratic power grab known as S1 and HR1, the For the People Act. I've said my piece on this bill before on the Senate floor and in many other forums, but I've listened to my Democratic friends all day long talk about this bill. We will later today vote on what's known as a motion to proceed to the debate on this bill. That motion will fail. It won't come close to passing. And our Democratic friends are saying they won't even debate. They won't even debate election reforms. Well, first off, let me say, if you ask me what the Republican plan to federalize our elections is, my answer is we don't have a plan to federalize our elections. We don't think we should federalize our elections. We think the states and their counties have done a pretty good job, traditionally, of running our elections. I'd also remind my Democratic friends that what they presented as some kind of unprecedented affront to having a Democratic debate in the Senate happened repeatedly, hundreds of times in the last administration. My Democratic friends simply voted not even to have a debate on, say, a coronavirus relief package last summer, which could have gotten aid to families and businesses when they needed it. When the pandemic was still raging, when vaccines were still months away, they filibustered even a debate until after the election, when we passed in December almost the exactly same bill that was under consideration. They blocked even a debate on policing reforms last summer that might have helped provide police departments across the country with additional financial support or training resources. I could go on and on about the bills in which they blocked even a debate, like protecting unborn children who can survive outside their mother's womb. Yet today, the Democrats act as if it's some terrible affront that we're not even going to have a debate on a bill that would be one of the biggest power grabs by Washington in the history of our democracy. So then you have a lot of Democrats who are complaining that the Senate rules and customs, the filibuster, has to go. They say that it's a racist relic of the Jim Crow era. I will acknowledge that some Democrats over the years used the filibuster to block civil rights progress. But I will also remind my Democratic colleagues that, yes, they used the filibuster hundreds of times in the last administration. I'll also enter into the record with request for consent, Mr. President, this letter written on April 7th, 2017. Persuasively authored by Susan Collins and Chris Coons, and signed by more than 60 of our fellow senators, urging Senator McConnell and Senator Schumer to preserve the existing rules, practices, and traditions as they pertain to rights and members to engage in extended debate on legislation. They note that these rules have changed on our executive calendar when we consider judicial nominees or executive branch nominees. But they say we are mindful of the unique role the Senate plays in the legislative process. We are steadfastly committed to ensuring that this great institution continues to serve as the world's greatest deliberative body. Therefore, we are asking you, Senator Schumer and Senator McConnell, we are asking you to join us in opposing any effort to curtail the existing rights and prerogatives of senators to engage in full, robust, and extended debate as we consider legislation before this body in the future. Let me remind you, more than 60 senators signed this. 26 Democrats currently serving in the Senate signed it. 27 if you include the Vice President. Let me just give you a few notables. As I said, the Vice President signed it. The following chairs of Senate committees signed this letter 4 short years ago. Senators Leahy, Warner, Cantwell, Carper, Reed, Stabenow, and Menendez. Some other notable senators. As I said, it was authored by Senator Coons, one of Joe Biden's closest friends in the United States Senate. Senator King, who often finds himself in the middle of consequential debates. Senator Heinrich, who apparently has changed his tune and today is advocating aggressively to eliminate the filibuster, just like Senator Schatz, Senator Booker. Senator Feinstein, one of the longest serving Democrats in the Senate. Senator Kaine, who's the vice presidential nominee for the Democratic Party in 2016. Senator Tester, again, who often finds himself in the middle of consequential bipartisan negotiations. Yet somehow something's changed since 2017. Something's changed. And most of these Democratic senators now think that these Senate rules must be destroyed so they can pass their massive power grab. What could it be that's changed? What could it be? I don't know. Maybe it's that Democrats have the most slender reed of power with Joe Biden in the White House and a 50-50 Senate and a 4-seat majority in the House. I wish that my Democratic colleagues understood that the shoe can pinch when it's on the other foot. But now moving on, Mr. President, I request that the following remarks be recorded in a separate part of the record.
Without objection.
Huawei is no ordinary phone company. It is the eyes and ears of the Chinese Communist Party. According to our Department of Defense, Huawei is a communist Chinese military company that's controlled by the People's Liberation Army. A former officer in the PLA founded Huawei. Huawei is built upon stolen technology from American companies like Cisco, and it's engaged in espionage all around the world on behalf of its masters in Beijing, which raises some important questions. Should American citizens work on behalf of a communist Chinese military company? If they do, should they then go on to serve in senior positions in the United States government, making policies that will directly affect our safety and security? These aren't academic questions. The Senate is now considering whether to confirm one Christopher Fonzone for a senior legal position in the Office of the Director of National Intelligence. By all accounts, Mr. Fonzone is a capable lawyer. I don't question his qualifications or his character, but there is reason to question his judgment. While working as a law partner at Sidley Austin, Mr. Fonzone performed legal work for Huawei, as well as China's Ministry of Commerce. He performed this work during a critical period when our government was actively exposing Huawei as a Chinese spy company and applying sanctions to it. He also wasn't just a long-time lawyer in private practice with long-standing clients, to include foreign clients. He had spent most of his career in government, primarily in national security roles. I cannot imagine that he was not aware of the China threat in general or the Huawei threat in particular. After all, the House Intelligence Committee had produced a landmark report exposing Huawei in 2012 while he served in the Obama administration. Now, I recognize he didn't do all that much work for Huawei, just a few billable hours here and there. But the fact remains that he first served Huawei, and now he wants to serve in the United States government. Nor is he willing to foreclose the possibility of working for such companies in the future. Unfortunately, Mr. Fonzone is far from alone in this lapse of judgment. There's a rapidly revolving door in Washington, D.C. that shuttles people in and out of government. Unfortunately, some of those people go on to work for companies with ties to the Chinese government and its armed wing, the People Liberation Army, after they cycle out of government. These individuals are part of what I call the new China lobby. They work at white shoe law firms and sprawling multinational corporations and big banks. Their pockets are lined with Chinese communist cash, just like Hollywood executives and NBA stars and ivory tower academics. Some of them get very rich by doing Beijing's bidding, and they don't want the gravy train to stop. Consider a recent article in the Financial Times, which reported that some of the richest banks and investment firms in America have been forming partnerships with Chinese state-run banks. Similarly, some of America's biggest companies like Nike and Coca-Cola are so addicted to access to the Chinese market that they lobbied last year against a bill to crack down on goods made by slave labor. All because that bill would make it more difficult for Coke and Nike to make their products in China and to keep access to the Chinese market. At the same time as our country wages a Cold War against the Chinese Communist Party, some of our best and brightest are taking their talents to borrow from King James, LeBron James, who's up to his ears in Chinese cash, to work for companies that are little more than puppets of the Chinese state. That's deeply troubling, and it's high time the U.S. Senate take a stand against the China lobby. That's why I will regrettably oppose Mr. Fonzone's nomination. Though he's far from the worst offender, it's time we start drawing a line. And in the future, I will therefore carefully scrutinize nominees for ties to the regime in Beijing and military companies like Huawei. If you wish to serve in the United States government in the future, let me be very clear. Do not do business with the Chinese Communist Party or its military or the companies that support it. Stop it today. Don't take the work. Don't take the meeting. Don't cash the check. A man cannot serve two masters. It is as true today as it was in the old days. Mr. President, I yield the floor.
Mr. President,